Rick, it's so great to see you. You ready for one
Hey,
more?
good morning, Keith Jones.
Yeah, can we do one more?
Yes, sir.
Okay, awesome. The title of this episode or podcast is The Mind Just Makes It All Up.
No, I gotta leave now. We to admit that our reality is created by ourselves. That is a really hard thing to accept because our whole lives we've been taught that things happen to you, things are external to you, and that's really the reality, and you've got to kind of fit into it. But as it turns out, the way you look at things, the attitude you have for those things, that is your reality. It's the lens through which you see all of the world, including yourself. So if we start with the idea that you can alter a reality to the extent that you change the way you think, that's a radical concept, but it's also true. And it has to align, that is your sense of reality, has to align with what it is that you want to be and who you want to present to the world. So my thing about it is that I'm constantly outside of my ideal person doing crap that I have no business doing because my ego is directing me to do it in a way that it diminishes who I am. And so I'm very well aware that I have a long way to go in this area, but at least I'm aware of it. So what do you think about reality, buddy?
I just think it's great. I mean, my mind will just make it up in a heartbeat. I will see somebody for just a few minutes. I won't it didn't even have to be a few minutes. I can have something that I see them do or some, and then I will interpret that and make up a whole story about it. I see somebody who I don't know, cuts me off in traffic. Oh my God. I mean, it's like AI. It's just writing a whole like novel about this person, who they are, what they believe, what they don't believe, who they must have voted for, what their parents must have been savages. I mean, it just goes down a complete rabbit hole, Rick. And it's just crazy. But when the reality of it is the way that it was explained to me, which stays with me, regarding your interactions with people, even if you've had too many interactions to count. But let's just say when you make a quick snap judgment about people that is filtered, that is informed by your biases or past experiences, to form that mental picture, that psychological picture of that person is as accurate as if you had a book that was 500 pages long. I slide the book over to you on a table, open it up to the first chapter, and I say, Rick, read the first word. Close the book, and I say, tell me what the book's about. That's the same equivalent about people and the interactions that we have with them. You get on the court, and let's say that, um, I'm on the pickleball court, for example. My ball rolls into somebody else's court, and they're going to give the ball back to me, and I hold my hand out, but they throw it. They're not really looking where they're throwing it, and they throw it, 20 feet away from me. Oh, the story. I'm writing a whole novel about this person and who they are and what kind of person they are and how inconsiderate and what man, it just doesn't stop. And up until the practice, man, I have been doing that my whole life and unaware of it. I'm still doing it, but the difference is I'm aware of it and I catch it faster because I made it necessary for me to start to be aware of it and catch it, Rick, because I want to have an open heart to people. And this thing inside of me, this mind of mine, it will close the heart for me. And my heart, based on its past experiences, it would do the exact same thing if I'm not mindful, if I'm not present. And so I really made it a point to get myself together, to settle down, and ask myself three things. Is it kind? Is it true? Is it necessary? And this came out of a book, The Mayo Clinic Guide to Stress-Free Living. I got to pass through those three gates before I can even think about forming an opinion about what just unfolded. And let me tell you something, Rick. Typically, the opinion gets stopped in its track because it's that threshold of things have to pass through to be reality. Is it kind? Is it true? Is it necessary? That's a big threshold for the ego, for the mind, and all the psychological, junk that's been stored inside of me. So I just really love this topic that we have. The mind just makes it all up, and you can have anything that happens. I remember getting a letter from the IRS, dude. Before I even opened the letter, do you know what my mind was making up, Rick? I was in handcuffs. They were sending me out to Attica. I don't even know if Attica is even open anymore. But Rick, I was going away for a long, long time, Rick. Long time.
Yeah, I love that, Keith. I really love that. That's very instructive and helpful to understand. One of the key things about all of this is that when you notice yourself having an opinion about everything, you might be on the wrong track.
Yes, yes, yes.
We don't need opinions about everything in the world, and especially about other people, especially when we have insufficient information to even have an opinion in the first place, because the opinion dictates what you're willing to see and what you're willing to do. If you have an opinion that you're going to a party and it's going to be a drag because there are all these people that you don't like, or you think you don't like, who are going to be there, or worse, all the people you don't know and they're going to judge me, and so I'm going to judge them first because they're jerks, and what the hell am I doing here? You go down that road, right? All a construct in your head, and
Oh,
you miss the opportunity to be with people who could turn out to be lifelong friends or very like-minded, or even if they weren't, stimulating, interesting people that would be part of your network or not. But the point of it is that by shutting it off, by creating this construct of how these people are before you've even met them, is a downfall, is a problem. It's not only a problem in the sense that it limits you, but it's a problem in the sense that it causes you to feel a negative energy. I notice when I judge, and I do a lot of judging, I catch it, but I judge. When I judge, I feel a little diminished. I feel a little
yeah.
bit angry or a little bit, crummy. And that is, I don't want that. It's like an environmental cancer. You can't see it, but it takes a toll. So I love what you had to say, Keith. I totally agree with it, and I hope that we both can continue on the path of making sure the ego stays in the back seat and doesn't drive the car.
Oh, Rick, I totally agree, man. Thank you so much. I just want to add one more little closing thought on this, is that it's so subtle that you don't even know it's happening. But on a regular basis, your mind is making things up because we go to the mind, because that's where we think it is, as opposed to the conscious self is really the one that's going to lead us down the path of well-being, the path of peace and love. It's going to take us on that path. The mind is going to take us, and the ego is going to take us completely different direction. And that's how you know. How do you know when it's your ego? You're not peaceful inside. Your heart is closed. The very person that you are upset with and angry with, your heart is closed to them. That's when you know it's ego. If they can still say things that you prefer that they didn't say or do, but your heart hasn't closed. But you're aware of the tendency to want to close. That is an enlightened being. And so I've really just really got that if I go to my mind to help me understand or to try to help me protect me or for some kind of feedback, if I go to the the conscious mind is great. The unconscious mind will go to the ego and the ego will write that story. It said, it will make up something about another person. If you're trying to think about what's going to happen tomorrow, oh, don't worry. It'll tell you what's going to happen tomorrow. It'll be wrong, but it'll tell you in a heartbeat what's going to happen tomorrow. But you won't even notice that it's wrong. You will think that, yep, I knew this was going to happen. Well, the reason you knew it was going to happen, like I'll give you a classic example. Classic example, a trivial one was I was having some equipment delivered here at the studio earlier in the year. It took the deliveries kept missing, and they kept saying that the suite that we're at for ToBeRe doesn't exist. And I remember my mind making up who the driver had to be not to see that this was an actual suite. And it's just unrolling it and stuff like that. I mean, it's just the whole thing. And I remember calling FedEx and it's making up no one's going to answer the phone. The person who's going to answer the phone won't be helpful. I mean, it's just going down the list. But I was aware of it. And all I did was I was just kind. I said, there's no downside to being kind. It's free. It is free. So it's kind to the person I talked to. She told me that, hey, we're showing that the suite doesn't exist. I peacefully went outside, took a picture of it, emailed the picture to her that the suite does exist. Didn't say, hey, I told you I didn't do any of that. And then she said, well, it's Friday. We won't be able to get that to you again until Monday. I just said, well, can I come and pick it up? It was like 45 minutes away at their center. I got in the car, Rick, drove down there, picked up the stuff in the car, gave her a $40 tip for being just so kind and willing it out to me, the whole 9 yards. The point was not about the $40 tip. The point was is that I could have stayed here and suffered the whole time if I'd gone to my mind and my ego for instruction and direction. It'll just continue to be wrong about the whole situation. The woman at FedEx couldn't have been kinder, couldn't have been more apologetic. She made my gratitude list, like period. And what also made my gratitude list was our practice. The practice to ask a few things. Is it kind? Is it true? And is it necessary? In that case, none of what my mind wanted to do, my ego wanted to do would have passed through those three gates. None of it would have happened. Whatever I thought about the driver, I had no idea whether it was true or not, that he's lazy. He just didn't want to get out of the truck to come and see where the suite was. I had no idea if that was true, and it's certainly and yelling at her over the phone certainly would have been kind, and none of it was necessary. And so, man, this is how I know that it's ego, is that my heart is closing and I am forming opinions about other people that are not kind and helpful. So anything to add, Rick, before we sign off?
Not a thing, man. That was gorgeous. Thanks so much. It was an extraordinary little piece of information there. And I love that example, the FedEx. That's great.
Great. Thank you, Rick. I love you.
I love you. See you next time.
See you next time.